Now, that is a dramatic chord progression. That second chord is the Neapolitan chord. It's a major triad built on lowered scale degree 2, usually in first inversion. For example, D flat over F in the key of C minor. Functionally, it behaves exactly like the 2/6 chord we learned in the last episode, but it sounds completely different. Most textbooks don't teach this until later chromatic harmony chapters because it uses a note outside the key signature. But it's actually not that complicated. If you understand 2/6, the Neapolitan just adds a single accidental to it. So we're not learning a new rule, we're upgrading one you already know. Let's start with something familiar. 1, 2, 6, 5, 1 in C minor, using the standard voicing 3, 4, 2, 1 on top. The previous episode was all about how this progression works, so start there if you haven't watched it yet. But let's hear it. Now let's hear it with just the soprano and alto. Parallel thirds. Sounds good. Now let's shift the upper voices around so that 1, 2, 7, 1 is on top. And now listen to just the soprano and alto. Hear that? That second interval is an augmented fourth, a tritone. In the first example, the tritone was hidden in the alto and tenor. Here, it's front and center because it includes the soprano melody. Same progression, but the dissonance is suddenly exposed. It's subtle, and it's not actually wrong per se, but composers reacted to details like this. So, what did they do? They fixed it by lowering the top note by a half step, changing D to D flat, which turns the augmented fourth into a perfect fourth. So we went from a D diminished over F, a 2 diminished 6 chord with scale degree 2 on top, to a D flat major chord over F, a flat 2/6 chord with scale degree flat 2 on top. That's how 2/6 becomes the Neapolitan chord. Same function, same inversion, same scale degree patterns, one change, totally different chord. This chord appears in the Baroque, Classical, and Romantic eras, but it became strongly associated with the Neapolitan School, a group of opera composers from Naples, such as Alessandro Scarlatti, Domenico Cimarosa, and Giovanni Pergolesi. So theorists eventually began calling it the Neapolitan chord, and we abbreviate it as N6, or just flat 2/6. The Neapolitan moves just like 2/6. Chords like 1, 1/6, or 6 tend to move into it, and then it usually moves on to a dominant like 5, 5/7, or 1/6/4. But lowering scale degree 2 introduces one quirk. Let's look at the voice leading for the progression N6, 5, 1, starting with the same voice order we used with 2/6, scale degree 4 on top. Soprano melody 4, 2, 1, alto flat 2, 7, 1, tenor 6, 5, 3, and the bass 4, 5, 1. We'll also frequently see this with the flat 2, 7, 1 line in the melody. In that case, the inner voices are usually something like 6, 5, 5 and 4, 2, 3, with fewer jumps and a complete final 1 chord. But let's talk about that line that starts on flat 2. Look at the first melodic interval. Flat 2 to 7 is a diminished third. It sounds like a whole step, but it spans 3 letter names. You can think of it like flat 2 is a half step above the tonic, and 7, the leading tone, is a half step below it. Together, they form a double neighbor figure pointing to 1. But here's the thing. Some theory teachers say never leap a diminished or augmented interval. But that's only partially true. Diminished intervals are perfectly acceptable if they resolve by step in the opposite direction. Here, we leap down a diminished third and then resolve up by step. So this is totally correct. But even though that's true, diminished thirds are hard to tune. So composers sometimes fill that gap in with a passing tone, especially when it's in the melody. Flat 2, 1, 7 before resolving back to 1. Our first example does exactly that, and it's from one of those actual Neapolitan composers, Domenico Cimarosa. Here's a piano reduction of the opening of the third movement of his well-known oboe concerto in C minor. A quick note, Cimarosa didn't actually write this as an oboe concerto. It's an arrangement of his piano sonatas by 20th century composer Arthur Benjamin. But the Neapolitan progression comes straight from the original sonata, and Benjamin's orchestration highlights the voice leading perfectly. Here's what's happening. Violins take the flat 2 line with the passing tone, flat 2 1 7 1. Viola on 6 5 5, cello on 4 2 3, and the bass on 4 5 1. Isn't that beautiful? He both begins and ends the third movement with this gesture. This whole concerto has a few other examples of the Neapolitan chord as well. So if you're trying to find it, look for a flat scale degree 2 above a bass note on scale degree 4 in a minor key. That's the giveaway. Another common variation is to move from the Neapolitan to a 5/7 chord with just one change. The voice on scale degree 4 stays there when moving to 5/7 instead of leaping down to 2. The other voices remain unchanged. Flat 2 7 1, 6 5 5, and 4 5 1 in the bass. That gives us a 5/7 chord with no fifth, just two roots, a third, and a seventh. You'll see it like this with the 4 4 3 line on top, or with the flat 2 7 1 line on top, like this. Beethoven uses both versions in perhaps one of the most famous Neapolitan examples in classical music, the first movement of his Moonlight Sonata. The chords are arpeggiated as triplets, but there are 4 distinct lines from high to low. In the third bar, he moves from a 6 chord to the Neapolitan, then to a root position 5/7 in bar 4. He then elaborates that 5/7 chord by moving each note of the chord by step, first to a 1/6/4, then back to 5 with a sus4, and then back to 5/7 before moving on to 1 in the next bar. When he brings it back towards the end of the movement, things are a little more straightforward, going straight from N6 to 5/7 to 1, and this time, scale degree flat 2 is on top. Just like 2/6, the Neapolitan sometimes leads into a cadential 6/4 before resolving to 5 or 5/7, like this. One voice moves 4/3/2, another takes flat 2 1 7, another takes 6/5/5 to make a 5 chord, or 6/5/4 to make a 5/7 chord, all over a bass moving 4/5/5. Just like the 2/6 chord, keeping the root of the N6, flat 2, above its fifth, scale degree 6, creates parallel fourths and avoids potential parallel fifths. And check that out, all 4 voices are completely stepwise. This is how Haydn closes out the slow introduction section of his London Symphony No. 104. The 4/3/2 line is on top in the first violins, the cello and bass move 4/5/5, and check out the bassoons. You can see the parallel fourths quite obviously, and those are the same notes in the second violin and viola. And then the oboe adds a little flourish on top with some incomplete neighbor tones to 5. As the Neapolitan became part of the standard tonal vocabulary, composers didn't just use it the same predictable way. They leaned into its drama, sometimes using it to support melodies that otherwise wouldn't make tonal sense. Listen to this short melodic fragment. Out of context, that sounds pretty wild. Angular, dissonant, almost atonal. And what key are we even in with a B flat and a G sharp? Now hear it in context. That's a reduction from the first movement of Beethoven's Symphony No. 7, where in A major, so to build a Neapolitan chord, Beethoven lowers both scale degrees 2 and 6, creating a B flat over D chord that resolves to E, N6 to 5. The voice leading underneath is exactly what we expect from this progression. 4 to 5 in the bass, plus flat 2 to 7 and flat 6 to 5. And then Beethoven unleashes that wild melody on top of it. He does this 4 times in this movement. If you know the piece, go and listen to it and see if you can spot them. Once you recognize the sound of the Neapolitan, those moments will jump out with a completely new level of clarity. Okay, one last clarification before we wrap up. The name Neapolitan is the widely accepted name for this chord, which is built on lowered scale degree 2. It's almost always found in first inversion, so it's called the Neapolitan sixth chord, and it uses the label N6. And in later Romantic music, you'll sometimes find it in root position as well. But you may also see some textbooks call this a Phrygian flat 2 and label it flat 2/6, like Aldwell and Schachter, or even -2/6, like Walter Piston. Those names aren't wrong, but I find the term Phrygian misleading. Yes, in C Phrygian, we do have a D flat major chord on scale degree flat 2, but that's not where the Neapolitan chord came from historically or functionally. In Phrygian music, it's usually a root position chord that returns directly to tonic. That's how we usually see modern modal harmony use the Phrygian mode, complete with parallel everything back and forth between the 1 and flat 2 chords. Here, flat 2 is just part of the scale. The Neapolitan doesn't behave that way. It's a first inversion chord that always acts as a predominant heading to a 5, 5/7, or 1/6/4, with that characteristic motion from flat 2 to the leading tone that arose as a way to avoid a tritone in the upper voices. It's not part of the scale, it's a special moment. But there's also a little irony here. By lowering scale degree 2, we eliminated the tritone from the 2 diminished 6 chord, but we introduced a new tritone in the root motion, flat 2 to 5, D flat to G. But here's the important part. None of the voices actually move by tritone. All the motion from N6 to 5 is by step or by third. That tritone between the roots is theoretical, not something you actually hear as a literal interval. That's the heart of how tonal harmony works, and really the whole point of my whole chord by chord series. Harmony isn't just a stack of chords, it's the byproduct of independent melodic lines working together. So, the Neapolitan isn't some mysterious advanced chord, it's just a chromatic variation of the very common 2/6 chord, turning an otherwise everyday progression into something bolder, darker, and more expressive. If you spot a Neapolitan in the music you know, drop it in the comments. I'd love to hear about where you start recognizing this sound. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time on Dr. Fromm's Music Lab.